It's time now for Uncancelled. And this is where Britain's top commentators speak out on controversial issues without the fear of the cancel culture sweeping the rest of the media. And Nigel Farage has seen off two woke banking chief executives, launched a campaign to fight for thousands of other Brits, and now, tonight, been offered his Coutts account back. This is what he had to say to me earlier in the show.
I have today sent a letter, begun litigation with Coutts, NatWest, to say, look, I want to have a meeting. I want to sit down face to face and find out how this happened, why this happened. I want you to accept you've broken the law. I want you to accept that you have taken up an inordinate amount of my time. You've cost me a great deal of money.
But while Nigel fights for banking reform, it's been disturbingly revealed that 1,400 other British firms across a range of industries have also signed up to the same corporate diversity scheme that first inspired his debanking. B Corp urges its member companies to stand up against all forms of oppression and dismantle racist systems, policies, practices and ideologies, giving accreditation to banks like NatWest and Coutts, much like the LGBT charity Stonewall. So, Kelvin, it feels like corporations, right, have to say, rack off to this vocal minority, these extreme schemes which push a particular ideology, which is actually very hard left, very, very woke, very out of touch with most Brits. Just don't bother with these schemes.
Well, what it is, it's a bit like the rosettes, which are handed out on rather poor hotels to make them look better than they are. And that's what these companies like Coutts do. They don't want a problem, so they say, we stick this two-star rosette on the front of our bank, and with a bit of luck, we'll get away with it. But now, what Nigel Farage has done is beyond incredible. Go, Nigel, go. Yeah. It's incredible. He's humbling banks worth, I think NatWest is worth 18 billion. As he himself says, he's not worth 18 pence, but he took them on. He had right on his side. And now the chief executive is far from saying, get out. He's saying, A, please come back. And Nigel is saying, where's the money? Because a lot of money went on legals. He's got his own reputation. Was it damaged by it? Yes, it was. Were any of those 40 pages true? No, they weren't. He's going to end up, A, with his account back, and with Coutts, write him a cheque, I suspect, probably for the thick end of £750,000. How incredible. Anybody who's ever dealt with a bank in a kind of collision way has always ended up flat on the floor. They have departments which are designed to say, do your worst, right? And good old Nigel. What an incredible bloke this is. Yeah. Nobody has ever done what Nigel has done.
A complete capitulation. By Coutts. And I think what we're already seeing, Kelvin, is this is not about Nigel. You know, the consequences of this are rippling through banking, who all of a sudden these banks
thanks to Nigel, I'm just about to take on the charlatans at a major insurance company on exactly the same basis. Right? A week ago, I'd never have won. Today, they're done for. AXA, here I come.
What have they done?
They failed to...
De-insured you?
No, I got an insurance through them. A tree from a neighbour fell on a house I own, right? And they said, you're not covered. Who knew that? Nobody. You read this insurance document. I read it very closely. Nobody would ever know you weren't covered. I am coming after AXA. So if you're watching, Chief Executive, I am going to do a Nigel. I may not be as successful, but I'll cause you a lot of pain.
And you will definitely try. No, I note the change happening already in banks. Now, Kelvin, have you noticed this reinvention of Carol Vorderman, who has gone from a pro-Tory maths czar, cozying up to David Cameron, to a hard left commentator spewing nasty rhetoric all day long? And
it's all happened since she's moved back to Wales. Right? She was perfectly all right when she lived in a £4 million flat, by the way, overlooking Lambeth Bridge, right? Fantastic. It's all going great.
Champagne socialist.
Yeah, right. This is fantastic. Yeah. There wasn't a word of any of this tosh. But since she's done two things, A, moved to Wales, always a shocking mistake, by the way. And the second thing... I
love Wales.
I love Wales. Oh, do you?
I do.
Okay, right. Well, I do notice that when you go on holiday, you go 6,000 2,000 miles away to New Zealand. I don't see you in Cardiff, right?
Oh, no, I love Cardiff. I genuinely.
Oh, right, OK. All right, well, you could cozy up with Vorderman.
Wild night out in Cardiff.
OK, well, anyway, so she's in BBC Wales. She goes to BBC Wales. Suddenly, imagine that, a combination of Wales and the BBC, and she does a show for them, and suddenly she's become some loony lefty.
Yeah, indeed. And my point is, look, go down the mateless route, if that's what you want. Go and become hyper-partisan, Vorders, and retweet all of these crazy conspiracy theories. Do that if you want, but give up your show on the BBC because you are undermining the public.
Right. Her issue is she's being funded by all of us. And we'll say that it doesn't look like it in the polls right now, but say it's like 50-50 Labour and Tory. Why are Conservative voters funding her pay at BBC Wales so that they have a whole load of bile poured on them? It is a ridiculous thing. Anyway, the old Welsh windbag, I'm afraid, has clearly gone potty since she's gone there. I wonder whether the whole of Wales is like that.
But the thing is, it's Tim Davy's own words, and this is what makes me so angry about the way that Tim Davy totally gave in to Gary Lineker. He's made a mockery of himself as the Director General of the BBC. His own words to presenters were, what you tweet is a reflection on the BBC. But after, remember, the strike by all of the BBC sports presenters, Tim Davy has now been a coward. He is cowering in a corner. And I'm sorry, Tim Davy doesn't need to cower in a corner over Vorderman. You stand up to Vorderman.
Yes, I agree with you. But the trouble is that once they become Director General, suddenly they've got no backbone anymore. And the big names that they've got, because their audience is so small now, these big names have more power than the executives. No, she's not a big name. There are aspects of her that are rather large.
I don't know what you're talking about. But, Kelvin, the point is, this was his opening mission at the BBC. I am going to clear everything up on impartiality and I'm going to crack down on social media. And in fact, he has proved an embarrassment.
Well, yes, from the left, you can say whatever you like. From the right, can you imagine if Nigel Farage had a show on 5 Live or something, and this had happened? He'd be booted off air 100%. At 100 miles an hour.
Front page of every newspaper. I mean, that's the thing. It's the hypocrisy here. But Kelvin MacKenzie, uncancelled. We will speak later in the week. Thank you so much. On Vorderman, the BBC told us it won't comment on individual tweets, but stressed there is an ongoing independent review into its existing social media guidance, especially for freelance staff.